Hey, I had a vision that I need to share with you, and I know that it is in reference to Ezekiel 37 with the Valley of Dry Bones. So, in the vision, I am in my house and I am sweeping in the kitchen. Now, I knew that I had already begun sweeping in the family room and in the dining room. I have an open concept house. So when you look over from the kitchen into the family room, you can see into the dining room and vice versa, right? So I'm standing in the kitchen and I'm standing at the pile that I have swept up. And I start to notice that little bits of food particles are starting to actually move. Like I see little top ramen noodles starting to move, and I see little pieces of bone that are starting to move. And I look over and I see that there are pieces of bone that are moving from the dining room pile and the family room pile as well. And then the floor starts to rattle. Now that's the end of the vision. And so I knew that this was in reference to Ezekiel 37, the Valley of Dry Bones. And so what God was impressing upon me was that what you think is trash, what you think that can no longer be used, what you think is completely dead, he's saying that he's going to breathe life back into those situations, life back into, those relationships, into those businesses, whatever it is, those ministries, whatever it is for you, for whomever this is for. You think that this thing is completely dead. You think that there's no way that life could ever or purpose could ever come from what is completely dead. And when I say dead, I mean this is dead. Within this passage of scripture, these bones, it's not just like dead people. These are bones. It even refers to them as dry, bleached by the sun type of bones, because these bones have been out in this valley for some time. Okay. Usually when something is dead, think about when Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead. That was a miracle, right? But this is different. Like Lazarus still had a body. Lazarus still had blood in his body. He had organs. He had bones. He still had an actual body. And so Jesus breathed life back into that thing and he came back to life. Well, God is saying, I'm taking something that's deader than dead, if you will. I'm taking something that there is absolutely no hope for this thing. Like there is no skin, there is no organ, there is no, there's nothing but bone. Like I'm going to breathe into these bones. I'm going to breathe into your situation, whatever it may be. And I'm going to bring life back into that thing. I'm going to bring purpose back into that thing. God is literally going to bring, like he brought start bringing those food particles back together to, as the word says, bone to bone. He was bringing these things back together. And I know somebody's going to say, well, that stuff was trash. Exactly. God is saying that the things that you think are trash, that the things that you think is refuse, the things that I was preparing to throw away is still very usable. You're still very usable. You may feel like somebody threw you away. You may feel like you are those dry bones and there's nothing else that can be done with you. What is my purpose? I have no purpose. It's too late for my purpose. Somebody feels like it's too late for their purpose. They feel like there's nothing else that can be done. I'm too old. I'm past that stage. That's past. That opportunity has passed. That door has closed. There's nothing that can be done. There's no way to get back in. I've severed those ties. I've burned that bridge. Those relationships are done. There's nothing. God says, I'm breathing life back into that situation. I'm breathing life back into that thing, and it's going to live again, and its purpose is going to be fulfilled again. Don't think that just because it's dead, just because it's not even been stinking in his grave, okay, because Lazarus was stinking in his grave, right? Yeah, because Lazarus was stinking in his grave 4 days. God says these bones are way past 4 days. They're past what we would say the point of no return. But God says, I'm going to return and restore everything that seemed like it was lost. And yes, it's these little pieces of bones that are coming back together. And what we would really look at this and say, this is nothing. But God says, I'm taking this nothing and I'm creating something. I'm bringing it all back together. I'm calling these parts of you. These are your bones, right? These are your bones. These are your dreams. These are your goals. These are your aspirations. And I'm calling them from the north, the south, the east, and the west, wherever they are, wherever you left them, wherever you hid them, buried them, wherever they fell off, wherever somebody took them from you, okay? God says he's bringing all that stuff back. I'm calling it in from every corner of the earth, from the ends of the earth. I'm calling all these things back together, bringing them back to you, bringing them back into you. I'm making all of these dry bones live again. All these dead situations are going to live again. I feel like somebody would say, well, what can you do with these little bits God doesn't need much. Okay, God doesn't need much to create much. If you remember, Eve was created from a rib. That was one bone. God is bringing life back into these bones. He's creating something brand new. He's creating something miraculous with just these little bits of bones. So don't sleep on what God can do, okay? That's a word.